Thank you for joining us tonight at the Petersens. I think this is our fifth night here at the Pebble Beach Ocean Club. A wonderful evening. My words are brief. Thank you all for joining us. May I please be allowed to introduce the very handsome, debonair chairman of the Petersen Automotive Museum, Richard Varner.
I'm just going to tell you, Terry, if you're that cold, we can then turn down the air conditioning too. So. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming tonight. I tell you, this is the future of collecting dinner. We've been doing this for, I don't know, over 5 years now. I don't know how many years have we done this, Terry? Here to 5 years, and it's gotten bigger every year and better. And having you here makes it so much better than that. Tonight's topic is from Race to Road. We've got a great group of speakers lined up here for you. But first of all, we have to say thanks to Hispano Suiza for making tonight possible. Thank you very much. The chairman, Sergio Martinez, said, could you stand up or sort of find me this? Is he here? Oh, over here. Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Secondly, we have to thank everyone here. Your continued support of the museum has gone to great use. We're doing quite well there. I think if you have a chance to talk to Terry or to Michael, they can kind of fill you in, but the museum continues to break records. We're finding new ways to involve more people, and it's truly become a love of art, a love for all of us. And it's not done without your support and your continued efforts as well. I think a lot of you came up on the tour this weekend, so thank you for doing that. I hope you had a great time. Secondly, tonight we have one other board member here who wants to recognize. Many of you know Merle Mullen, and please stand up. Merle is joining the board this year, and we hope to work with her for many more years to come. So thank you, Merle. Thank you very much. Next, tonight, our moderator, David Lillywhite, who's the editorial director of Magneto magazine, is actually his birthday this evening, and so we want to wish you a very happy birthday. Please come on up. And I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to tell you that tomorrow will be my 5th anniversary to my lovely bride, Karen. And my complexion's never been clearer, so thank you for that, sir. David, please come up here. So David will be joining us tonight as our moderator. We'll let him introduce the guests, but we want to thank you for your help this evening and tell you that we enjoy the magazine immensely, and thank you for being here.
No, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Okay, so incredibly, I was invited back because I did last year. I really enjoyed it. I have no idea if anybody else did, but I am here, so thank you. We've got a great panel. I think, guys, you better come up. Eloisa back there. So, yeah, if you can come up, please. I'll introduce everybody. So first on the stage is Patrick Long, and I'm guessing a lot of you know him. Renowned Porsche racer, 4 class wins at Le Mans? What, 18 Porsche Works drivers, you're the only American? So kind of what Patrick doesn't know about competition cars, but also the way they translate into road cars really probably isn't worth knowing about. So we're going to be calling on Patrick's knowledge a lot. Then at the end we have Eloisa Roof from the amazing Roof dynasty. You know all about the Roof 911s and things like that. wow, I mean, what a dynasty. You're the third generation. Father is over there. And the company started back with Aloysius' grandfather, and he was repairing cars, and then Aloysius' father got to the point where he realised that actually there was a business in tuning, modifying Porsches, and then producing your own cars, which are homologated. So there's all this link. Now, Aloysia is still involved, well, very involved with Roof, aren't you? You're a photographer, you do the PR, but as you said, it's a family business. So with a small family business, you just go straight in. So you're on the production line, you're doing kind of bits of everything. So there's some serious knowledge there to be tapped, and that's how we can do that. We have Mark here. Now, Mark is a logistics team. He's a logistics person. So he's moving cars all around the world, and you think, okay, now he's told me I can be rude about it, so brilliant. I kind of thought, well, you know, where's the relevance to that? But then, of course, you realise that all these cars that are being moved around, some of them, they're coming into territories where they're not homologated. So this is where Mark's expertise is. And then we have Joan here, and he is part of Hispano Suiza. So he's the sort of research and development advisor. But you have an amazing background, don't you, in Formula E, in all kinds of motorsports. So we're going to be talking about how that motorsport experience translates into the road car and into the amazing Hispano Suiza car that you see out there. And I think we're all stood up uncomfortably. We need to be sat down. So the big thing here, obviously, homologation, the road, the sort of, race to road. The whole thing about homologation, it can be translated in a lot of ways. So really the definition of homologation is how these cars from a manufacturer are being made to be appropriate for the road. But in the context that we're thinking about it, it's about, a lot of the time, homologation specials. So it's competition cars, and so many of them over the years, like if you think of Group B rallying, you had to have a certain number of road legal cars. And then you could race, rally, etc. And I think that's a lot of the road that we're going to go down here. And you think of some of the amazing homologation specials that we see on the road. I mean, my favourites are last year's Delta Integrale, Subaru 22B. But you can go back, we were talking about 911Rs, weren't we, earlier? There are some fantastic cars, and some of them almost feel like you're right on the edge. They're noisy, they're hard, but they're really, really good fun. And that's why we've all loved this sort of homologation special topic in itself. But then we're going to also look at the manufacturing sides and the challenges that there are now to getting the car on the road. But first of all, I'm going to start with Patrick. I did warn him that he'd be the first question. And how a competition car and a road car that's supposedly related through homologation, how different are they from each other?
Yeah, if you look at different eras, certainly back to a 67 911R, I mean, it was essentially a street legal race car. And at Porsche, when you go to Flock, just in Weissach outside of Stuttgart, R&D and motorsport are in the same footprint. They exist and work hand in hand. And in my 2 decades with the company, it was very interesting to sample the street car and the race car at the same time, both while evolving. And although Porsche has its own specific street development, drivers, engineers, and team, a lot of times our department in motorsport, EM, would be exchanging notes. And there was a lot of street to track and track to street transfer. But as you said, homologation, at least from the Porsche perspective, when you look back to the FIA and the ACO, it was really, from what I understand, the core of it besides rallying was what would it take to win Le Mans, and what were the rule makers demanding that you do as a manufacturer to create enough street cars to justify that as a GT car on the racetrack.
That makes sense. Okay, with that in mind, Mark, when you come across these cars that are being, say, imported to the States, we all know that a lot of people who somehow manage to get away with driving pretty hairy race cars on the road. But what do you have to do or advise people to do?
Well, first of all, we are so fascinated by the phenomenon of the cars, and seeing the cars, driving the cars, gives us a lot of passion to make everything possible which could be possible. Obviously, there are some restrictions, be it restrictions on the environmental level, be it restrictions on the technical level that we have just elaborated also. So it's very important to start at the beginning. When you would like to import something into the US, then obviously there's somewhere an exporting country, and it depends to check already in the exporting country if here in the US you will see some technical issues, environmental issues, emission issues, to check with the authorities here in the United States to make sure that the homologation of, for example, race cars in the USA can take place. And the good news is there's a lot of ways of doing this, and that we understand ourselves as the intermediates of supporting everybody bringing their cars into the USA in a fully legal manner, so that the passion of racing does not overwhelm and to overcome legal issues too much, but really to do it in a legal way, to be active there.
And on that subject, again, out of research, you've got these cars that are very, very, very high performance. How do you build the cars to conform to all the rules all around the world, but still be very, very exciting?
When looking at the term of homologation, you also have to look at the term certification. Now speaking of the US import, to be able to import cars to the United States, as you said, you have to have the safety regulations, which have, interestingly enough, different, as in Germany, the manufacturer declares the car to pass the safety regulations, which you can see in the vehicle next to the VIN number. So, and ROOF has the expertise to fulfill the safety requirements. Now, when it comes to the fun aspect of it, yes, we have been inspired by racing engineering, and we have been taking those aspects into creating our high-performance vehicles. But at the end of the day, they all are conformed with the US certification requirements.
And I think something that people don't always understand about roofs now is they're your own cars, aren't they? They're not, we do say in roof proportion. And actually, it's worth explaining how different it is.
It's not really wrong. We are always inspired by fashion. The brand has been a company for many, many years. This year is celebrating 60 years of the brand, and it's a pretty big anniversary. And Roof has been Roof has gotten its first in number in 1981. The first time we were US certified was in 1987. So we had a very long and beautiful history being able to bring cars to the US where they're greatly celebrated. And in 2017, we developed the first in-house car from the ground up, from the carbon monocoque. There's no base car. The only thing important about the car is the spirit. And that's the most important aspect. We wanted to keep the essence and the charm of the car. And you see it when you get in, it's the same carbon size, but a completely new engineered car with a double wishbone crystal suspension, which again comes from racing, inspired by racing homologation. But this is a full in-house developed car next to this. We also released the C-Series Evo, which is the evolution of the C-Series Plus Sport. It's extremely exciting, and also reminds us even more of GT racing.
Yeah. Perfect. So everybody needs to check that out. I think what I probably should have mentioned earlier, that Roof really came to the public eye when Yellowbird became the first production car to hit 200 miles an hour. So that goes back to, what was that? Yeah,
Yes, you don't
perfect.
do a world record.
So nobody, if you haven't heard about Yellowbird, you just need to, all you need to do is Google Yellowbird, Nürburgring, and you see the most amazing lamps. Brilliant. So we might go back to that in a moment. Right. We're talking again about all this with competition cars to production. Now you've gone from your racing background to produce a hypercar out there, which is your road. How much of your competition background has actually influenced what you've got out there?
It's really important to have an experience on racing before you design a race car. So obviously, you see the history of automotive sector. Many of the discoveries, many of the innovations that we are using actually in electric cars is coming from racing. It's coming from 1970s, 1980s, where we discovered the ABS, suspension, without suspension, many others. So really, sector and in the electric automotive sector where the future is going, it's really important that we learn from racing to create new cars and new brands. And maybe we are using a lot of experience. Obviously the cars are different. Obviously, but the experience that we have in Formula E is not directly the vehicle that we develop for the streets. But you are learning from the business for motors and inverters. You are learning to reduce the weight as much as possible. You are learning to make the best suspension that is possible. You are trying to increase the range. You are a winner of a race actually on electric cars. Your range is much better than the others if you are using less energy than the others. So on the street cars is similar. You have to increase the range as maximum as possible. So we are learning in a lot of different areas that we can apply right there on the street circuit. And also regarding homologation that you had at the beginning, it's a place to learn. So I think that on racing we are learning on safety. And safety rules is maybe the regulation that is not more important than the others to save drivers. And later we can apply all these experience that we are learning from safety regulations on racing on the street car. The only point is that I like it is possible to have just one homologation over the world. We have many different homologations, Europe homologation, US homologation, Chinese homologation, UK homologation.
We all do it completely differently, just to make life really difficult.
Sure.
No, you're right. Okay. And again, back to that thing about the differences between the road and the race cars. Are there any particular cars that stand out where you could take the road car and you could take it to the track and not be in a lot of trouble?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, the GT3, the modern GT3, the 992 GT3 is an incredible piece of kit. The big evolutions of the latest model car made so much difference on the racetrack. For a street legal GT3 RS to be creating the same amount of downforce as a GTE car racing at Le Mans is just unthinkable. The GT3 that I started driving in 2002, a 996, was still at that time an ultimate homologation car. It was visceral, it was loud, it was emotional, it was stiff. And I think that is one of sort of the pioneers of a mass-produced homologation special, if you will. And when we say mass-produced, I'll asterisk that I probably get a phone call once a week that's like, hey, can you get me a GT3? I need a GT3 on paper. So a couple thousand cars is nothing when you think about the global demand and scale for these cars, but that popularity, I think, comes from exclusivity, but it also comes from how the car makes you feel. For everybody in this room who's into the automotive passion, when you jump into a car that makes you as excited as maybe the first time you drove, or the first time you drove a sports car, that childhood emotional feeling, that's really what I love about driving homologation type cars, and naturally driving race cars as well. But I would say that the reason to your question that I chose the latest spec GT3, other than lots of performance numbers and potentials and downforce, is just a naturally aspirated engine that runs
super high RPM all day long. And you just drive, the harder you drive it, the higher you rev it, the later you brake, the happier the car is. And I always say it's great to have a toy, but it's no fun if the toy doesn't work all day. So
Very true, very true. Any GT3 owners out here? I knew there would be. Look. There's quite a high percentage considering, as you say, how few of them are home. Do you get to drive any of the cars, Mark? Do you get to drive any of the cars that you're shipping around?
I'm not allowed to admit, but yes.
I knew it. Any favourites of all the kind of, well, we're talking homologation specials, are there any certain experiences you've had?
Well, I think Porsche has been mentioned many times now,
Yeah.
so it's a Porsche. And besides the Porsches, the AMGs are pretty exciting, I have to say, particularly because of the sound of the engine. So that's next to the Porsche one of the most exciting sounds, at least we have in our warehouse, if I dare to say. And besides that, it's absolutely amazing if you are car passionate like ourselves to see also prototypes. Sometimes they even don't have a sound because they're in a very early stage of being a prototype. Sometimes because they're an EV. They have hardly any sound, but watching the prototypes, seeing the prototypes and seeing of how fast the industry is developing and how fantastically the industry is developing is just incredibly amazing. Incredibly amazing.
But of course, right, you were talking about EVs and the way that's going, and now we're talking about engine sounds. You know, how do you match?
Racing is easy. Racing is easy because the gearbox have noise, so you can feel the noise of the vehicles, and you can listen when you are on the stand, and you can listen on the TV. So that's not a problem for racing in field. Obviously, on the street, the people who like the noise will not feel this on electric vehicle. That's for sure. But for me, I don't like really the noise. I like to drive. I like to enjoy when I'm driving. I like to feel the performance, to feel the suspension, to feel the corner, the speed on the corner, to feel the acceleration. And that feelings, including it's much better with some knots. This is obviously my opinion. But I really like to drive an electric vehicle. And if you drive this Spanish winter, you have the opportunity. You will feel it. I mean, you will feel the silence, but at the same time, the emotion that the driver was speaking. The emotion to drive a car that have the performance like the Spanish wheel, that have the acceleration, the brakes, and the speed on the corner. That is something that gives you the opportunity to forget the noise.
Yeah, and you all that talk. Yeah, we all love talk. So, yeah, I get the EV thing. That's cool. You can be doing an EV roof. Well, that's just showing me up as my being slightly ignorant. I'm very sorry.
Not at all. We first released our electric roof, also named E-roof, which was funnily enough also the first electric 911 in history. In 2007, and we built a few cars. We started the development working together with CES in Germany, and it was a fun car to drive. I wasn't driving back in 2007, but the car still runs and we still have it in our repertoire. But we are a 19-employee company and expected to leave, I want to say that to the experts, because we have devoted over 8 years of our craft to developing our cars the way that they are, with our different types of engines, and now we're focusing on manufacturing our cars fully in-house.
And have you got a favourite of all the models in your range?
It's hard. I mean, you could say the CTR anniversary that we released in 2017, and the drivability of that car, and here we can go back and the idea of homologation and trackability. It's a car that's so powerful and so light as well. While simultaneously, it doesn't fight you back when you destroy it at 10 horsepower. When you're driving in the city, it doesn't fight you. It's just a perfectly drivable street car. But when you take it on track or in the German mountain roads, we have the autobahns. It can be like lots and lots of cars. I think that emotion is tough to bridge. But anyway, it's hard to pick one.
No, that's fair. Have you ever driven Ruth?
Yes,
I thought you had.
yeah. I have enjoyed my time in Roots, both early and late model. One of my favorite stories was visiting the Roof family in Pfaffenhausen, and Alois, who's here in the room, gave me the honor of driving their latest car, and it was the Zero model, the mule. And we were out driving the local roads of Pfaffenhausen, and it was about this light out, but because it was pouring rain, and the horsepower of that car and 6-speed transmission, it was great trust that he put in me, that we were just chatting, he was riding next to me, and there was plenty of opposite lock moments, not for the reason of sport, but more just for self-preservation. But yeah, the Yellowbird that you talk about, and Stefan Roser driving that around the Nordschleife, is just one of the most epic videos of car control and just any bit of driving I've ever seen, race or street. So yeah, I think that's burned in my mind as far as the Roof brand. But when you get to understand the family and you realize that they were purists from the beginning and started with restoration and service, and you know, like you said, Lisa, the evolution of the story was really great. And one of the stories that, as a kid playing PlayStation 1, that was my first introduction to Roof. Some people might be able to relate to that in the room, because I didn't really know the brand at that point, but I knew that there was this super fast car that I had to work really hard to earn enough points to buy it. I bought the Subaru Impreza purely because of the grey rally inside it, and I was too old to be so ridiculous about things. But yeah, I was so excited. I was sat there, and I bought the Impreza, and I've had several since. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. So we've strayed, obviously, but we're always going to stray because there are so many interesting topics. We talked about the Roof heritage. There's a bit of Spanish Reason heritage that really you ought to explain, I think, while you're up there.
Honestly, it's a historic brand. I mean, it was born in 1904, so it's more than 100 years. In fact, next year will be 120, and so we expect to come back here to celebrate the 120 years historic brand. Really, it was a brand that from the beginning it was looking for exclusivity, for luxury, but at the same time it was a racing brand. In fact, we participate in many races, and we won 2 races on the 1920s. So it was a brand that from the beginning was looking also for the performance, was looking to have the best motors that you can find on the world, and the best chassis. And this is exactly what we have decided to keep on the rerun of the brand. No? So to keep the luxury and the exclusivity, so it will be really a small collection of cars, but at the same time we want to feel the future of the automotive sector. So we decided that we have to go to electric to keep the brand in the sustainability area of automotive, because we want to combine these two things, no? the performance plus the history together with the luxury and the elegance. And this is the Spanish Reason, and join these 4 concepts together.
Yeah. And what's the hardest part of developing a new car nowadays? Is it safety regulations, or is it?
The most difficult part for sure is the homologation side. I mean, you have to homologate the battery, and you have to apply regulations. At least in Europe, we are 100% now for next year, and it's quite amazing safety regulation to be sure that all the customers will not have any problem in the future. So I think that is maybe the most difficult thing. But at the same time, to find this combination between the performance and the feeling that you have in your hands a racing car, plus the comfort, and the comfort and the luxury that we want to show on the vehicle with a nice design. So this kind of combination, to put everything in one, obviously is not easy, and I think that it's going to find the perfect solution for it. So we are really proud of it.
Yeah, this is quite a machine out there. Another research that asks the same question really. What are the biggest challenges for Roof?
Developing
Yeah.
They come in offboards. You can start off slow with the certification as well. But I think it's trying to understand each step that goes into the development of a complete new car. And I kind of even counting my pieces of the heart that are completely beautiful to realize that the amount of time and love that goes into even creating something as simple as a lighting system. Or, I mean, of course, you have the engine development itself, which is an easy task. But all of the challenges that come on the road of things that might seem easier from the outside, and then when you actually have to create those parts to complete the car, they tend to be more difficult at the end of the day.
You have specific examples where there have been really big challenges
That particular ones we sold all of them so far.
over the years. And Mark, I mean, you probably see more of these historic ones as well as the new prototypes. Are the subjects that link in homologation where there's always something that's a challenge, particular areas?
Well, the particular areas at the moment, at least we see when it comes to homologation of any kind, is really deglobalization. So we can see there's kind of protectionism going on all over the world, and that doesn't make the life easier for any one of us to move cars around in the world, also for the homologation process. And obviously the second topic is sustainability. So sustainability in terms of environmental protection, especially also in the USA. On the one hand, which is good, the Environmental Protection Agency is pretty strict in terms of making sure that the cars being homologated also here in the USA fulfill the requirements. So that's a big issue, which also in Europe is a big thing, particularly also in Germany. I think you might have taken from my accent that I am originating from Germany, and we are having a pretty tight time in Germany these days for many reasons. And I really think you made our night today, and specifically for us, some German colleagues also here at the table, Porsche, Stuttgart, Nordschleife, you mentioned the full-fledged, so thank you very much. There's a little bit of pride these days, yeah, so that's fantastic. And that lets us overcome the challenges also.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make up for Brexit by... I'm sorry, were you... I think we need to think about as well, what we started with was how exciting these cars are. And I'd kind of like to hear the most exciting experiences you've had. And you've had so many, Patrick, but give us an example of just something that's really stuck with you over the years with these kind of cars.
There was a project, it was about 2010, a GT3R hybrid, and when I heard hybrid, the only thing I thought of was a Toyota Prius, and I thought of batteries, and it was very early on. And when I showed up to work that day and I saw the car, obviously I had heard a little bit about it, but not that much. I understood that it was flywheel technology, and the energy was created through the front axles in deceleration. That motor sent the electric charge back to a flywheel that was riding shotgun with me inside about a bowling ball case of thick, hopefully it was steel, I don't remember what hard metal it was. And inside was a composite rotor, and that rotor spun at 40,000 RPM, stored the energy, and then you could hit a button on the steering wheel and later be auto-boosted based on GPS coordinates on the racetrack, and you could discharge the flywheel. And the amount of power was like being shot out of a missile. But not only that, it was created by the front wheels and then it was discharged to the front wheels. So we had a combustion engine, GT3 engine in the rear, and then we had electric engines up front. And when it rained or when we were at Nürburgring, it was the unfair advantage. I mean, you could drive around the other cars on the outside. And naturally, it wasn't loved by our competition, but it was the very beginning, the first GT race car of a hybrid type. And little did I know that quickly behind that was the 918, our first hybrid supercar, of course, with battery technology, but all of the systems, all of the technology transfer, a lot of the same team members that developed that GT3R race car then went into the 918 development, and of course are now working with the current Penske Porsche project in motorsport. And yeah, it's always been exciting times.
to be the driver who not only gets in and does a lap time, but has to articulate to the engineers and try to expedite where they should be working. It's not what is the problem, it's what's the biggest problem, let's fix the biggest problem first, and it's always a measurement of time. How much time do you have at that racetrack? How many sets of tires do you have? Or how much time do I have to give an answer? So I'll stop there. That was a good answer. I like it. I mean, how did that power come in? Did it change the balance of the car? It did, yeah. I mean, active all-wheel drive in a GT, modern GT racing is not very common and technically not allowed in many different disciplines. But this was so cutting edge and it was such a risk that was taken that a lot of people used that as a reason to let the car race in sort of a homologation class of its own. So it wasn't racing for the same trophies as a lot of the OEMs who had gone through all the proper channels of rules and regulations, but it was an incredible car to drive. I remember being at Nardo in the very south of Italy testing at the big track there that's a private testing facility, and they told me to switch off the engine and come back with electricity, and that was the first time I had driven any form of an electric car. And thinking back to 2009, 2010, it was very cutting edge that we could think about not only surviving an endurance race by, if you had an engine failure, getting back on electricity, but just sort of the forefront of sustainability and electrification in motorsport. So very lucky that that was a small chapter in my professional career.
Yeah. Joanne, again, you must have seen all manner of things, Formula E, all the other disciplines you've been involved in. What have been the most exciting experiences, whether that's on track or engineering?
Well, to be honest, with more than 20 years racing, you can imagine that I had a lot of different experience and different things in my life. I was working always as an engineer and a team owner. But maybe one of the most nice experience was the first season in Formula E. Formula E was born in 2014, was the first season. In fact, we come to the United States to make one race in Miami and one race in Los Angeles. The championship was done on a street circuit, in the middle of the streets, and that was a really nice experience because the people come to see the race because it was in front of his house, no? So it was really nice. And we won that season with the Finnish race in UK. And that was an amazing experience, no? And was really nice to be like a world champion. For sure, somebody here have that feeling, no? To be a world champion in something. It's a nice experience. But to be honest, after that, is when I started to think, okay, that's really good feeling. We get a lot of experience, and what is the next? You know? And that is when we start to think. About that goal, no? From race to road, because we want to go to the next step, and at that time, 2013, 2014, still automotive sector was not 100% decided to go to electric in the United States. At least you had one brand that was pushing for that. In Japan also one or two brands was pushing for that, not Europe. So it was good for me to start to say, okay, I want to do something. I want to help brands to become electric because I really trust that this is the future. And then I had the opportunity to join this project of Spanish to get all that experience inside the project. So I think that is a nice history, and I hope if you have the opportunity to drive the Spanish at any time, and you're invited for sure. You will feel that experience, how it's coming to the road.
Yeah. Okay, so we go out tonight? Sure. Perfect. I've only had half a glass of wine. I think we're fine. Best roof experience? You must have had, you've grown up with it.
Because I was trying to think about it.
I know, I've dropped it.
What I want to say most new, the different good experiences that I had was last year. I actually got to drive the Polycat track for the first time. The Polycat in the south of France. And I drove it in CTR anniversary, and it was the first time that I had taken that car, particularly any car, on track. And for it to be such an iconic track and psychedelic track on top, and such a fun car to have it at my hands and to have my father as my passenger. It was just so incredible to see a car that you usually experience on the roads, the mountain roads, stress testing. I mean, I was a very lucky duck and got to be part in the development of that car and got to witness each step of it, but to really experience it and to learn about the track and to maybe let it dance a little sideways on the track. It was just such a... I feel like I put the glasses on for the first time. I felt like I had experienced the car in a way that I couldn't experience it before as we could on a car. So I think that's probably one of my recent love affairs.
That sounds pretty good. Driving a Corley car, I think that's right up there. In a roof, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Mark, I'm going to ask you the same question because you've dealt with so many cars.
Basically 5,000 cars a year, which we fly for our customers around the globe every year, which honors us a lot, and most of them are unique cars. So it's absolutely exciting to go to the warehouse and see those unique cars standing there, flying them around to the world. But I have to admit, my personal best experience was when somebody in the US found a very, very old BMW, actually on a farm. There was not very much left of the car. So we transported it to Munich, to BMW Classic, to their workshop, and it took them 1.5 years, and they refurbished the car completely, and it was standing there as brand new, and it was just totally amazing to fly them back to the USA and see the owner here and getting his car in a completely new shape. Absolutely unique car. It existed only once. There was only one left out of this series. And this gives you a big sensation. If you see an old car which all of a sudden is brand new, it's just totally amazing. And yeah, that pleased us a lot.
No, very good. I'm going to do something slightly off-piste. I'm really curious to know, of all the homologation type cars, you've got race, you've got rally, you've got endurance. Hands up for race. Okay, hands up for rally. And hands up for endurance. Okay, that's a fairly equal split, isn't it? That's really interesting. And favourite cars amongst the panel of homologation specials? Because this is my last proper question.
1967 911R, just an angry, raspy engine, lightweight, a short wheelbase, and everything pure. I'm a vintage car lover at heart, and this car represented motorsport, street car, lightweight, efficient, agile. I really thought about the Porsche family designing these cars in the mountains of Austria, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I have to speak about historic cars. Obviously, I go to Hispano Suiza to Xenia. That is a car developed in 1929, and that has the speed of something futuristic. You know, if you see the car, you cannot realize that that car was developed in 1929, and really is a car that you see actually nowadays and inspire you something really futuristic. You know? And this is what we have tried also to inspire on the new vehicle that we have done in Sweden.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, so I've already asked you about your favourite route, but is there a favourite of all these kind of homologation sections? Are you totally focused on
RS is quite at the top.
Carrera RS is going to be a favourite for a lot of people, I think. Yeah. And Mark?
For driving, it's the GT3 RS for sure, and for the beauty, it's a BMW, maybe Z8, which I really adore.
Yeah. Interesting. We've pretty much come to the end. Probably for us, it's gone really quickly, hasn't it? 45 minutes we've been up here. I hope it's gone quickly for you. If it feels like a lot more than 45 minutes, then yeah, we've got it very wrong. But I hope the food is good. Ours is over there, which we're getting a bit hungry. Thank you very, very much for listening. Thank you to all the panelists. Amazing job. Have a great evening.